Well, welcome everybody to SYNCHRO Office Hours. Please submit your questions into the Q&A section of the meeting interface, please. So today's presentation will be conducted by myself, Graham Lee, a SYNCHRO consultant for Bentley Systems based in the United Kingdom, and Arpit Prakash, SYNCHRO Solutions consultant based in the United States. The agenda today is to show you the latest applications in the SYNCHRO suite. We'll be looking at two in particular, SYNCHRO Control and SYNCHRO 4D Pro. The demo will last for around 30 minutes, followed by a Q&A session. So Bentley's portfolio for the digital construction, it consists of SYNCHRO Control being the main collaboration tool in the suite. You can access, manage and analyze your construction data. SYNCHRO 4D Pro is the latest incarnation of Bentley's flagship 4D scheduling and simulation application. We also have SYNCHRO Field, which is a mobile construction management environment allowing you to access the 4D model and also the SYNCHRO control data directly from the job site, even when you're actually offline. And also coming soon, we have SYNCHRO Cost, which is under development. Just before we dive into the demo, a quick note about working remotely. I'll post this link in the chat window so that you can access the resource. It's a very good resource covering everything that you really need to know about setting up and using SYNCHRO from home or remotely. It covers downloading the application, licensing the application, and optimizing your system to work best with the 3D environment. A couple of rules. All the microphones are actually muted in this session, so please do submit your questions via the Q&A section. The session will end at 5 minutes to the hour, and above all, please enjoy what we have to show you here. So Arpit is going to take you through the live demonstration. I'm hoping that you have everything that you need to, Arpit, to take over the screen share.
Yep. Hey everyone. So thank you for joining in this session. I'm Arpit Prakash, and as Graham said, we'll start off with a demonstration of some of the new technologies and workflows that we have right now. That you can leverage, and please feel free to ask me any questions either on the topic that we are discussing or any topic regarding issues or questions you have with any of the products of SYNCHRO platform, be it SYNCHRO 4D Pro, SYNCHRO Control, Field, Modeler, anything. So keep your questions coming in. We'll keep an eye out. We'll respond to you on the chat, or if I can demonstrate that, I'll do that on the screen as well. But starting out with this topic at hand. So I wanted to talk about the how do we use the new SYNCHRO Control platform with our SYNCHRO 4D Pro, the desktop application. So if I go to this website, construction.bentley.com, that's how you can access SYNCHRO Control. Enter my Bentley IMS. So if you're starting out, you don't have a control license, you can actually create a demo project over here, and this is valid for 30 days. The project expires after that, so any data you have on that project, you won't be able to use it going further out the 30 days. If you have a license, you can start out with a new project. My assumption is this is for people who already have control and are using it, or want to see how control can be used. So I'm not going to talk too much in detail about the feature sets of SYNCHRO Control. Just will give you a basic rundown, but we'll focus primarily on working with the model. So in Control, you have this ability to upload documents or connect to an existing documentation platform like ProjectWise, synchronize folders of your local drive. We can create forms for you can define your own forms or use some of the predefined forms for logs and observation RFI issues, and assign these forms to your project members, assign a 3D model or a map view to these forms for reviewing. We have ability to do some inspections using using an Excel template, you can import, all your, inspection questions and fields and information, and do that on the field as well. In the schedule, you can actually review your 4D model here, and that's what I'm primarily going to focus on today. You can upload an existing SP file or start creating a new SP file using the iModel technology. And if you have a schedule created already, you can review the schedule and the 4D model here once it's done loading. So Synchro Control is a great way of easily sharing the 4D model rather than relying on the Synchro 4D Pro or any of the OpenViewer desktop application where you need a workstation to work with. But this one, it's a pretty fast interface on a web. You can easily view this here, the 4D model, or you can actually use the companion app Synchro Field to review this on an iPad. All right, so the first sort of business, we go to the administration tab at the bottom. There's this setting for manage iModels. So Synchro Control primarily works with iModel technology. That's a Bentley's native format. So here you can see I have two iModels already created. So a project can have multiple iModels created. To do so, you can go to click new and enter your name. Description. So if you already have an existing SP file, so what is an XP file? If you're working with a Synchro project, a Synchro 4D Pro, that's a desktop application, and this is your main workhorse where you actually produce your 4D model by importing 3D models and a schedule or creating a schedule directly within, and you define that 4D model here. So if you can save this as an SP file, and once you have that, you can drag and upload that SP file over here. So when you do that, it creates a snapshot of that project file. So let me see if I'll do that right now. Dragging an SP file over here. So right now I haven't set this up for iModel for scheduling service, and I'll explain that in a minute what that means. I'll simply create this. Actually, so it's saying set up a 4D iModel. They can only have one iModel set up for the 4D per project. So what that means is, like, since I already have a 4D model created, you can only have one live 4D model running on the Synchro platform. But I can still have multiple iModels created, which doesn't necessarily contain the Synchro file, but can have individual files like your Revits or your microstations and IFCs. All that file 3D models can be uploaded here, besides the singular Synchro file. So if you create this new file without enabling this, it will give you a snapshot of your 4D model. So you won't have the scheduling tab, you won't have the task listed, but you'll just have a simple model which you can drag the timeline for and see the simulation, but not get any more further information than that. But to create this, to get that schedule tab and the schedule information, you have to set it up for the scheduling service. And like I said, you can only have one model available for that. So I'm not going to do that right now because it takes some time to sync. But I have that created over here. So if I click on that, it will automatically take me to the scheduling tab. Sorry, it takes you to the My Task. But you can go to the scheduling tab to see what that model looks like. So one benefit of why we are doing this is, if some of you guys have been working with Synchro Pro in the past, you might know about Synchro Workgroup project, which was a server-based solution where you uploaded your SP file on the server and multiple people can work on that. So since this latest version of Synchro 6.3.1.2, that SWP is no longer supported, and all those functionalities ported over the Synchro Control platform. So once you have this model created and set up for the scheduling service, you can actually go to your desktop application, go to File, and open a control project. So right now this is a private project, and you can see at the bottom it says private project. So it's not connected to the server at all. If I want to open a control project, I can click on control, and it will give you a list of all the projects that have a 4D model available and you're assigned to that project. So I can go here. This was my project, demo project 008. I'll click on that. For all the legacy users of SWP, you don't have to worry about going to a different Synchro portal, getting the server and the IP address, creating users. All that is just handled by a simple click of a control project and based on the Bentley IMS. So your single login gets access to all your projects and products now. So here you can see it says connecting and updating, and I have this additional tab for transaction where you can see a transaction history. So now you're working on a connected project. So any other project member who has a read-write permission to be able to access this model can work simultaneously on the same file, and any changes I make here. So for example, if I go to the Gantt and let's see, create a new task. That new task is a transaction that gets instantly transmitted to the server. You can see that new add task created. So this new task now would be immediately available to the rest of the people who are logged into the same control project. All these changes, any changes I make in the 3D model, 4D model, these are synced to the control environment. It looks for changes every 5 minutes and syncs it and depending on the size of the data, it can take some time to get those changes up on the cloud. So right now you can see there's no add task yet, the new task, but it will should come within 5 minutes. But what this helps is, one, in a collaborative environment where multiple users can work on the same model at the same time. And two, everybody who has access to this control and the field software they can use, they can get the almost near real-time data, the latest of data. So you don't have to worry about sharing models, sharing the SP file, hoping that the SP file, if it's a heavy project, works on their workstation. They have to download the software. Now everything is a web-based platform, or using the Synchro field on the iPad, you have access to the whole 4D model as well. Now, based on this, I can go to my home and create, let's say I want to create an issue. And in my issue, I have the ability to assign a map if my models were geolocated, or I can go through my model, go through a particular time of the model, and assign that form over here. So that particular location is saved to my form, and people can review this form on the field or on the web and review what elements I'm working with. So this is how you work with an existing SP file. Now there's an alternative workflow where you're not technically using an existing file, but I'm using the iTwin technology to create these iModels. So in this example, I'll create a new iModel, and this one I'll say just an empty model here. Instead of dragging my SP file, I'll just create an empty iModel. And if I click on those three dots here, I can go to connections. Create a connection, and I have the ability to either connect to a project-wise server if you have access to that, or I can connect to the iTwin file service. This iTwin file service is the same as the documentation on the Synchro control. So you can either upload all your files. So in this example, I have a Revit file uploaded on this platform, or I can use a desktop application called iTwin Synchronizer. And let me open that real quick. Sorry for the background noise. So iTwin Synchronizer is the same as the control. It gives you the ability to create and upload iModel 3D models and using the iModel connectors using your local folder structure rather than relying on the cloud document structure. So here I can say, okay, I want to use my cloud structure for now. I'll select the file I'm working with. That's a Revit file. It will ask you to define a geocoordinate system. So if your models are geocoordinated, you can use this. If you have another model that defines a geocoordinate, maybe a container or a master file that you might use, you can skip on this one and use the other file later on. I'm going to skip this. So at this step, it defines what connectors you can use. So if I had multiple file types per connection, so I just had a Revit, so it automatically gives me Revit. If I had a Revit and a let's say a DG and microstation file, it will give me option to individually select a connector. Typically, it's smart enough to understand which connectors needs to be used to convert a file to an iModel, but you have that flexibility just a cross check. I can create this connection, let's say, Revit connection. I have the ability to schedule updates, based on every 4 hours, daily, weekly, or I can do it manually. So if you have a new file, updated Revit file, you can replace this existing one, and it will automatically search for, schedule the updated changes to the iModel based on this schedule. I'll say create. So I have a connection created for that empty iModel. So what these connections are, it gives you the flexibility to synchronize each and every model as per your, preference. So one scenario would be you're working on a large model with different trades model in it. So you have a Revit file for, let's say, architecture or mechanical, electrical. You may not necessarily be updating them, all of them at once. So if you have a connector for architecture, for Revit, for mechanical, electrical, you can pick and choose which one you want to synchronize as the updates come in. So once I have those connections created, I can select one or multiple connections and tell them to synchronize. So when it's synchronizing, it's essentially converting your native Revit or DGNs or IFCs. There are a few file formats that the iModels iTwin technology can convert into an iModel. So it's converting, and you will get a progress when this is completed. So I'll go back to here on my control platform, manage iModel, and I have this iModel already created. So again, when I click on the iModel, it takes me to the My Task. Here you have a list of all the forms that have been assigned to you, and if they have a model assigned to that form, you can see this box which indicates that. So here, this was the Revit file that I created using the iModel connector. It's not a 4D project. If I go to schedule, I'll see my SYNCHRO file, not this file. But in this My Task, I have the ability to assign a form to any of the models that have uploaded in my control project. So I could have used a SYNCHRO training project, the 4D model, or just a singular Revit file here. So that's one differentiation between the two. The other one is I can use this iModel now. So I can import all my models into a single iModel container file. So this becomes your federated model file. And I can use that for 4D scheduling as well. So for that, so right now this is not a 4D scheduling model. If I go to my manage iModel here, you can see the SYNCHRO training project. It says 4D, so that's how you know this is a 4D one. So to use this iModel instead of that one, I have to convert this, edit, and set this one up for scheduling service. So if you recall, we can only have one 4D model. So if I turn this on, it will ask me to delete the other model. So I can only have one 4D model. So based on the connectors, I can use iTwin technology to convert all my native formats into this one container iModel container file. And once this is set up for scheduling, I'm not going to do that because it takes some time. You can have the same access when you go to open and control project. And when you select your the project, it will automatically opening instead of the SP file, it will open up that Revit file. Another difference would be after that you won't have options to import directly from SYNCHRO Pro itself. All the models, they have to come to using the iModel bridge connectors here. So that's one limitation. You can see with my original folio model, I made some changes. It's synchronizing those changes to the iTwin iModel service, and those changes should reflect shortly within the schedule tab over here. So that's all I had. Looking forward to your questions. You can see task A shown here. All right. So Graham just posted this really useful link of working from home with SYNCHRO. So this is a good resource if you want to review it. Graham, if you want to quickly talk about this.
Yeah, as I say, it is a very good resource. It goes through downloading the application, how you activate the application, and also how you optimize the application for working on your particular hardware as well. It's a very, very useful resource.
So do we have any questions coming in?
We do have a couple of questions. How do we work with a federated master model?
So there are a couple of ways when you're working with a federated master model. So let's say if you're using Naviswork, right? That's an example of a federated model which is commonly used. So currently we don't have a iModel connector for Naviswork, so you cannot directly use the iModel technology over here. But what you can easily do is import a federated NWF file into the native SYNCHRO Pro environment. We have plugins for Naviswork. You can export that as an SPX SYNCHRO project export file and use that to import into SYNCHRO and then upload it to your control environment. If you're working with multiple SP files, so let's say I have one master SP file and then you have different phases of a project into multiple SP file. Since you can only upload one SYNCHRO model on the control environment, what you can do is, because SYNCHRO has ability to import a different SYNCHRO file as well. So you can start importing your individual, different phase SP files into this master SP file, and then upload this whole master SP file directly to the control environment. So that's another way of working with federated models. Technically, when you're working with iModel, it creates a federated model itself. So using these connections, when you're importing different files and models into an iModel, that's a federated model. It will all be geolocated based on the geolocation you define in the iModel, as well as on those individual models as well. So this is kind of an alternative workflow from using softwares like Naviswork. You're creating a federated model using the iModel itself. All right, got a few more questions over here. What are the file types we can convert into iModel using the bridges? I believe we have a link somewhere which gives me the file size. Graham, do you have the link for that?
I do, yes, just bear with me 1 second. I'll post that into the window.
Great.
So it's the B communities, Penta communities.
Perfect, yep. So this gives you a list of all the applications that's available that we have an iModel connector for. You can see some of them have an inbuilt connector for within the application itself. Some of them can use the portal, the SYNCHRO control, that's a portal, and I showed the iTwin synchronizer, that's a desktop as well. So this is a comprehensive list and keeps expanding. And regarding the Naviswork, we are working on the iModel connector for Naviswork file type as well. So you can see it covers a lot of pretty standard file types that are available out there. But the links on the should be on the chat. So, all right. Let's see. Next question: can we connect to BIM 360 models? So currently, if I go to these connectors here, sorry, under documents, so we can connect our documentation structure to an external, system. So if I go to connections and authenticate that. So here you can see I can create connections to project-wise, context share, SharePoint, but soon we'll have an option to create a connection directly to a BIM 360 environment. So you should be able to, after that, you can see all your documents directly, whatever is uploaded to your BIM 360 on this platform, and then use the models located on the BIM 360 to create an iModel connector. But right now we don't have that functionality. What you can actually do is, we can synchronize these folders to our desktop by clicking on set for synchronization, and you have access to that. Let me open that up real quick. You have access to all your project files on your local system as well. So if you are working with a BIM 360, you have a similar folder structure on your local drive. You can simply copy paste all the files over here. You can use actually some of the automated services for that, like Microsoft Flow and Power Automate, to make this process more streamlined, where any changes that is made to your BIM 360, they just copy paste the folder to this environment, and then you can use that as well. Otherwise, you have to just rely on your traditional method of getting the latest, for example, Revit, getting the latest Revit file from BIM 360, put it on your central location wherever, and either upload it directly to SYNCHRO Pro or use the connectors to convert that to a model. But yes, we'll have a better collaboration environment coming up with BIM 360 soon. Another question: is it better to use SYNCHRO plugins compared to iModel bridges? That depends. If you already are using SYNCHRO, you have a project going on, definitely you'll keep using the SYNCHRO native connectors and file import, the 3D or SYNCHRO project using the SYNCHRO plugins. In some instances, it might be easier. I know for geolocated models, it's better to use the iModel bridges, deals with them better than the SYNCHRO plugins. It depends on the model type and the software working with, and the kind of complexity of the model. So I would say, like, typically you would want to try both methods when you're starting out in a project. You want to see what your file size is, what your workflow is going to be, because in Revit, like in SYNCHRO Pro right now, one limitation I know is, like, we can import a SketchUp model in SYNCHRO Pro directly, but we don't have a iModel bridge for SketchUp yet. There are workarounds by converting SketchUp to a different format, for which we do have an iModel. So those kind of limitation needs to be considered. But in terms of like, if you're working with some of the more industry standard formats like Revits and microsections and even Aviva, or for some of the programs, we don't even have SYNCHRO plugins. So that way, in those scenarios, you would prefer use iModel bridge. And in a larger picture, we will eventually be using more and more of the iModel bridges when it's at that stage, because it is definitely a more streamlined format. It's gonna give you better performance on your SYNCHRO Pro as well. So besides the couple of limitations I mentioned, that were like, if you already have an existing file, you're working with SketchUp, I would recommend using iModel bridges wherever you can. Next question: can we share the 4D model outside? All right, so with SYNCHRO Pro, you can share the model in its native format, and you have those free open viewer available where you can, you don't need a license for that. You can review the 4D model in that. It's a tuned down version of SYNCHRO Pro itself. But if you're working with a control environment, you can add additional project members over here and share the link with them. They will all require their own license for SYNCHRO control, so that's one limitation. But other thing would be we are coming up with just a web-based 4D model viewing platform, which doesn't have all these features of control, but just for 4D reviewing. And if you have a license for Synchro Field, which is much cheaper than Synchro Control, you will be able to simply share that model on a web-based platform as well. So that's coming up soon. I believe it's already there, but I don't know at what stage it is. But yeah, all you have to do is add those project members to your Synchro Control project and give them the link for the model. Graham, let me know if I'm missing out on any
Sure,
of the
no, you're absolutely
answers.
right, mate. Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Did I miss any question over here?
So the only other questions there is, can we upload a federated Navisworks model? And the answer to that question is currently, no, we can't. We don't handle the NWD file format at the moment, but it may be something that we look to do in the future.
Yep, and that's one of the limitations when you ask the question Synchro plugins versus the iModel bridges. In this case, you'll have to rely on Synchro plugin if you're committed to a Navisworks kind of a workflow. So that's another limitation there. But yep, we are working on the iModel bridge for Navisworks, and that should come out shortly. What else do we got?
So there are no more questions. Yeah, so quick links. We'll paste these the actual links into the chat windows as well. So please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, and please also check out the website at www.bentley.com.